Karen Whitmore's morning routine shattered at exactly 7:23 am when she spotted the violation through her kitchen window. A hot tub. Not just any hot tub, an enormous, gleaming monstrosity sitting brazenly in the Hendersons' backyard, without so much as a permit application crossing her desk. Her coffee mug hit the granite countertop with such force that scalding liquid splashed across her pristine white blouse. But Karen barely noticed. 23 years as Willowbrook Estates' HOA president had taught her that chaos began with a single unchecked infraction. "Gerald," she barked, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd attended every city council meeting since 1987. "Get the violation notices." The second shock came when she marched across the perfectly manicured street, clipboard in hand, only to find Mike Henderson lounging in the forbidden hot tub at 7:30 in the morning, wearing nothing but swim trunks and a defiant grin. "Morning, Karen," Mike called out, raising a steaming coffee mug in mock salute. "Beautiful day for a soak, don't you think?" Karen's face cycled through 3 shades of red before settling on burgundy. "Mr. Henderson, you are in direct violation of Section 12.3 of the Willowbrook Estates Homeowners Agreement. All recreational water features require written approval from the Architectural Review Committee, which I chair, and you have filed the paperwork 3 months ago." Mike interrupted, gesturing toward his phone on the hot tub's edge. "Submitted online. Confirmation number DVB 2024-847. Check your records." The third and most devastating shock hit Karen like a physical blow. She'd been so busy with her crusade against the Patel's unauthorized wind chimes and the Johnsons' slightly too tall fence that she'd let Henderson's application slip through. Her perfect system had failed. That's impossible," she stammered, but Mike was already showing her the electronic receipt on his phone screen. 12 weeks, Karen. 12 weeks I waited for approval. Section 8.2 of your own bylaws states that applications not reviewed within 60 days are automatically approved. Mike leaned back in the bubbling water. "I did my homework." Karen's clipboard trembled in her grip. In 2 decades of HOA tyranny, no one had ever used her own rules against her. The implications were staggering. If word spread that Karen Whitmore could be beaten at her own game, her carefully constructed empire would crumble. "We'll see about that," she hissed, spinning on her heel with military precision. But as she stalked back to her house, Karen missed the figure watching from behind the Hendersons' fence. Someone had been recording the entire confrontation, and by the time Karen reached her front door, the video was already uploading to the Willowbrook Estates Facebook group with a caption that would change everything. "HOA Karen gets OWNED by Hot Tub Hero." The notification painted on Karen's phone just as she slammed her door shut. 1 view, then 10, then 50. Her perfect morning had become a digital disaster. And this was only the beginning. Karen's fingers flew across her laptop keyboard with the fury of someone fighting for their political life. The Facebook video had exploded overnight, -847 views, 156 laughing reactions, and 89 comments, most of them brutally mocking her morning meltdown. Worse yet, someone had created a meme using her burgundy-faced screenshot with the caption, "When you try to Karen, but get reverse Karen'd." "Damage control," she muttered, crafting what she hoped would be a dignified response. But every word she typed sounded either defensive or authoritarian. Delete, retype, delete again. Her phone rang, and Gerald's name appeared on the screen. Her husband's voice was strained when she answered. "Karen, honey, you need to see the news." "What news?" But even as she asked, she was clicking over to Channel 7's website, where her face filled the screen under the headline, "Local HOA Prees IDNTs PO Mail TOLON. Go is VIRAL." The reporter had somehow gotten hold of additional footage, security camera video from the Hendersons' doorbell camera that showed Karen's full tantrum in high definition, her voice screeching about violations, her face contorting with rage, her clipboard waving like a weapon of suburban warfare. "They're calling you Hot Tub Karen," Gerald said quietly. "It's trending." Karen's world tilted. She'd spent decades building her reputation as Willowbrook's guardian, the woman who maintained property values and neighborhood standards. Now she was internet famous for all the wrong reasons. The doorbell rang, and Karen peered through the peephole to see a young woman with a news microphone and a cameraman behind her. She ducked below the window, her heart hammering. "Mrs. Whitmore?" the reporter called out. "I'm Jessica Chen from Channel 7. We'd love to get your side of the story about this morning's incident." Karen crawled to her home office, staying below window level like she was dodging sniper fire. Her computer screen showed the Facebook post's numbers climbing. 1,200 views, 287 comments. Someone had shared it to a national HOA horror stories group. Then she saw the comment that made her blood freeze. "Someone should check if she's been using her HOA position to target specific residents. I heard the Hendersons aren't the only ones she's been harassing." That comment came from Jennifer Walsh, whose backyard garden gnome Karen had forced her to remove last spring. Within minutes, other residents were piling on with their own Karen stories. The Pattles and their wind chimes. The elderly Johnsons and their excessively tall fence that exceeded the HOA limit by exactly 1 inch. A pattern was emerging in the comments, and it wasn't flattering. Karen realized with growing horror that her enemies weren't just online. They were her neighbors. People she'd spent years protecting from property value destruction were now publicly revolting against her authority. Her phone buzzed with a text from her sister in Phoenix. "Saw you on the news. Mom's so proud." Even family was turning this into a joke. But as Karen sat in her darkened office, watching her reputation crumble in real time, something unexpected happened. Her shame began crystallizing into something harder, more dangerous: determination. These people didn't understand what she'd sacrificed to keep their neighborhood pristine. They didn't appreciate the countless hours she'd spent reviewing applications, attending meetings, enforcing standards that kept their property values soaring. If they wanted a war, she'd give them one. Karen opened a new browser tab and began researching every resident who'd commented on that cursed video. Property records, permit applications, satellite imagery of their backyards. If there was a violation to be found, she'd find it. The internet had made her famous. Now she'd show them exactly why that was a mistake. By Thursday morning, Karen had transformed her dining room into a command center that would make a military strategist proud. 3 monitors displayed satellite imagery, property records, and a color-coded spreadsheet tracking every violation she'd discovered in the past 72 hours. Her investigation had uncovered a treasure trove of infractions: the Pattles' unauthorized deck stain, Jennifer Walsh's unlicensed fence extension, and the Hendersons' hot tubs violation of the noise ordinance between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. "Gotcha," she whispered, printing the final violation notice. Her systematic revenge campaign was interrupted by Gerald clearing his throat in the doorway. Her husband looked haggard, his usually perfect hair disheveled. "Karen, we need to talk." "Not now, Gerald. I'm in the middle of." The HOA board called an emergency meeting. "Tonight." His voice carried a weight she'd never heard before. "They're voting on whether to remove you as president." Karen's fingers froze over the keyboard. "That's impossible. I built this board. I handpicked every member. They're getting pressure from the residents. The video has 50,000 views now. People are calling for your resignation." Gerald sat heavily in the chair across from her. "Honey, maybe it's time to step down gracefully." The word gracefully hit Karen like a slap. Grace was for losers who accepted defeat. She'd clawed her way to the top of Willowbrook's social hierarchy through determination and attention to detail, not grace. "I'll handle the board," she said, returning to her violation spreadsheet. But that evening, as Karen sat at the head of the HOA boardroom table she'd occupied for over 2 decades, she realized her calculations had been wrong. The 5 other board members wouldn't meet her eyes. Worse, the room was packed with residents, more people than had attended meetings in the past 5 years combined. Board member Susan Martins, whom Karen had personally recruited after the woman's impressive garden maintenance, cleared her throat. "Karen, we appreciate your years of service, but given recent events." "Recent events?" Karen's voice could have cut glass. You mean my dedication to maintaining the standards that keep your property values high? Standards you all benefited from? Mike Henderson stood up in the audience. Standards like harassing residents over 1-inch fence violations, or forcing elderly neighbors to repaint their houses because the color was slightly off-white instead of pure white. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Karen saw faces she'd known for years looking at her with expressions ranging from disappointment to outright hostility. I have documentation of 17 current violations, Karen announced, opening her folder with theatrical precision, including Mr. Henderson's hot tub, which operates outside noise ordinance hours, and, Karen, Susan's voice was firm, the vote isn't about violations, it's about leadership. The motion to remove Karen from the presidency passed 5-0. As the meeting dissolved into chaos, with residents either celebrating or arguing, Karen sat motionless at the head of the table. 23 years of authority evaporated in 30 seconds. But as she packed her files, Karen noticed something odd. 3 residents were huddled in the corner, whispering intensely while glancing in her direction. She recognized them. The new couple from Maple Street, the Johnsons' adult son who'd moved back home, and someone she didn't recognize, a woman with a briefcase who'd been taking notes throughout the meeting. The woman with the briefcase approached as Karen headed for the exit. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm Angela Torres, attorney with Henderson and Associates. She handed Karen a business card. My clients would like to discuss a potential lawsuit regarding selective enforcement and harassment by the HOA under your leadership. Karen stared at the card, her hands trembling slightly. Lawsuit? 23 residents are prepared to file. They have documentation going back 15 years. Angela's smile was professionally cold. But there might be another way to resolve this. Are you interested in hearing their proposal? The boardroom was nearly empty now, but Karen felt like she was standing in a spotlight. Everything she built, her authority, her reputation, her sense of purpose, lay in ruins around her feet. Yet Angela Torres was offering something that sounded almost like an opportunity? What kind of proposal? Karen heard herself asking. The attorney's smile widened. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., my office. As Karen walked to her car through the humid evening air, she couldn't shake the feeling that her fall from power wasn't an ending, it was a transformation. Whatever Angela Torres wanted to discuss, it would either destroy her completely or give her a different kind of power altogether.